Welcome back, guys. It's been a really long time since I did not make a video on YouTube. The reason is pretty simple. It's because I've been waiting for my controller to be back from repair from MGM about 11 months now, almost a year. The package go all the way to MGM to their door, but the person who shipped the box knocked on the door. Nobody was there, so he shipped back to me in Canada. I was so pissed off. So the same day I get it back, I send it up again for a second time, and now it's back from repair. But unfortunately, it's not repaired. I take the ESC, plug it on my new setup, the V2 of the electric turbo. It was the first time I pulled the turbo, the V2 turbo, and something went wrong. I was getting about 30,000 RPM, and the ESC cut off. So that means too big of amperage. So that's in the beginning. I don't know what to thought about it. So I looked the data log, and a really weird number. I was getting only 60 amp on the input, and the peak current was at 500 amp. I was like, what is going on? That is weird. So I try something, I try different setting, and always the same thing. So I did go on different forum, on different RC forum, and they don't know what's going on either. I talked with Joe from Castle Motor. I explained the problem, and he was confused too. It's the first time for, I think, everybody. But I found another post on a forum back in 2017, and I read the comment, and this looked like an old issue with MGM. Sometimes they're not compatible with motor because of the winding or whatever. I don't know if this is my problem. I cannot hook my old motor to it because I disassembled it last year thinking my motor was bad, but in fact the ESC was bad. So I don't have any motor to test if it's a motor compatible problem with the motor, or it's really the ESC. But all the thing look like it's the ESC problem. But anyway, waiting for the MGM response. They take a long time to respond. So I hope I will get response like next week to know what's going on. If I need to ship them back after $420 repair plus $80 for the shipping. All of this for nothing. Anyway, today I've been working on the electric turbo again because I did a shaft last year, and remember when I did my shrink fit, it don't goes at like planned. It did not go all the way down of the motor, and I had some concentric issues with my shaft. I think I have had 2,000 of an inch of not concentric. So I thought about a new plan, and this time, if the shaft is not perfectly concentric, I call myself a bad machinist, because if this doesn't work, I don't know what will. So this is a quick video how to show you how I make my shaft for the turbine goes to the motor. So first of all, I did all of this in one setup. This is pretty important because where my thumb is, this is where the bearing goes, and all this part is where the impeller goes. So this and this need to be perfectly concentric. So in one setup, do this and this. This diameter is not precise, it's just where the motor will go. So after this, I cut it, flip it, and drill it. But I drill it undersized because I need to make it precise now. Last time I did some tricks. I try to do the hole first, then I try the hole after, and either of this method was perfect. So this time I put a scrap piece, drill a hole, and I bore it perfectly this diameter. Yes, I said it's not to be precise, but the interference of the two needs to be precise. Just a slight fit with no play. So just like this. Now we can screw the screw, and this is 100% concentric to the shaft, because I just turned this hole, let it in the chuck, because every time you unscrew the chuck, you're not precise. So every time you unscrew this, all of your work is now not parallel. So this is why I did my first hole first, because I know the screw may be not enough to drill in this hard steel shaft. So that's why I drilled it first, and now the screw just tied it. So now, why did I not rim this hole? Because a rimmer is never ever going to be perfect. When you drill, your drill can curve. Your drill it's not perfectly stiff. Your chuck, I don't know what it's in English. Your tool, no, this is a tool post. Anyway, this is not perfectly in the center, never. So even if you drill and rim, yes, your hole can be precise in diameter, but it's impossible to be perfectly straight. Impossible. So you absolutely need to bore this hole. But again, if you just chuck the shaft in a second setup, then bore the hole, yes, you're gonna have a precise hole. But again, not perfectly concentric, impossible. You can use a 4-jaw chuck, but even the 4-jaw chuck can have a little misalignment. So basically, this is the way I think is the best way to get a second setup perfectly concentric to the first setup. This is very important because our turbine spin crazy RPM. So this is why it's important. Now, my tiniest boring bar is this one, but as you can see is way too big. So I need to think about another way. And last year, if you remember my last video, I talked about an end mill. So this is exactly what I did again. So I put end mill in my tool post with a small angle inside. Then I'm gonna use only the teeth, this teeth of the end mill to bore my hole. So if you have a tiny hole, you can use a smaller end mill, but this is basically it. This is the way we should do it. So let's bore the hole and try again to see if my motor jump or not. Well, honestly, at this point, I really don't know what I can do different because I have another 2000 of centric. And I redid the shaft twice. This one bent, and the other one I tried to shrink fit and I miss it again, so I cut it, and this one is junk. So I really can't do better than this, and I really don't know how I can improve this, but it's gonna be it, and I will live with this.